All right, just wanted to come on here and just explain what's going on in the state party here in Michigan. A lot of you have been asking me questions. For those of you who may not have seen the two-page statement that I made a couple days back, I thought I would reiterate a lot of what I said in there and then just try to delve into the details a little bit further some. So Christina Caramo back in February, on February 18th of 2023, was elected as the chair of the Michigan Republican Party at the state convention. The last two people in the race were Christina Caramo and Matt DePerno, and it was at that point that she became chair of the party. And when we were on the convention floor still, I was walking around talking with people. Even before she even accepted the position, she had won but had not yet gone up and formally accepted the position as chair. People were saying there was going to be a vote of no confidence on Christina Caramo after 120 days. I was just going around. There's thousands of people on the convention floor, these state delegates at this convention, thousands of them. And I wasn't asking them what they thought for the road ahead. They just unsolicited gave me that vision of what was going to happen. Now, there was not a vote of no confidence on her within 120 days, but it was being discussed before she was even given a chance. And it was not just one or two people on Telegram or Signal. There were a lot of people out there who did not give Christina a fair chance. And a lot of them, I think, were even well-intentioned people who come from the grassroots movement, who are not status quo establishment type of people. But I think there was just a lot of frustration a lot of people had because they've seen that there's been corruption within the Republican Party, of course the Democrat Party, which is getting way worse and is taking us down tyranny and so far towards socialism. But this was a chance to a lot of people, I think, who had been involved for 10, 15 years and who have said the Republican Party is not performing like they should be. And this is our chance to bring the party to a better spot. And Christina wasn't their vision for who the leader should have been, but it was time to unite as grassroots. It was time to move forward. And is Christina the best fundraiser, most organized, most experienced? No, she's not the best at some of those things, but what she is she's a principled person who understands there's corruption in politics, that we need to weed out that corruption, and we need to stand on principle and follow the Republican Party platform. And having somebody like that lead is something that I think is critically necessary in our politics today, as the Democrats are getting so corrupt and so extreme with their far left policies. We can't continue to have the goalposts shift further and further to the left. As the Democrats go further left, the Republicans go further left. They become passive, timid, weak, try to appeal to the people in the center. The goalposts keep shifting. At some point, we're going to have to win the arguments. But then coming into the next state committee meeting, the first state committee meeting under Christina Caramo on April 15th, as we got closer to that date, people were starting to talk about that vote of no confidence again. And it was pretty quiet between February 18th and coming up to that week or two before April 15th, but it started to ramp up. And so I started making calls around the state, talking to some of the people on the state committee, some of the leaders, and just hearing what their thoughts, and their tune shifted as we got about a day or two before April 15th. It went from drumming up, seeing if they had the support to remove Christina, towards more of a, no, we're going to give her another chance. We're going to give her another quarter. She deserves more time, to prove herself. And something that sounded like, at least that's how they pitched it to me. But what I was hearing coming from around the state was they were sincerely trying to remove her on April 15th, had nowhere near the votes that were needed. And so they started to say, well, we'll give her another quarter, as they continued to drive forward their plan towards undermining her and to remove her to replace her with somebody else. That's what I felt throughout the process. Fast forward a little bit, going up towards Mackinac Island. We go up to Mackinac, the Republican Party is due to Mackinac Island, and there were rumors floating around for a couple months that was canceled, that it was going to move to an event downstate somewhere. And then so what does that do when this is a big fundraising opportunity for the Republican Party to have this big event up at Mackinac Island, and people are hearing all over on Telegram and Signal and in group chats that the Mackinac event has been canceled? Well, that was misinformation. Well, we didn't need that going around. What we needed is unity. We needed people to be involved, engaged, working towards positive action, not sowing seeds of doubt. There's many times, countless times throughout the last year where misinformation would be spread, that it would be the next gossip in the signal and group chats all over, just festering. So whether it was saying that Mackinac Island was canceled, or something a little bit softer, which sounds rational, like concerns that Christina's not as transparent as possible, that there was a vote 46-42 to not be transparent. Well, transparency is a wonderful thing. We love transparency. But when any finger gets put out of place, it becomes the next gossip thing that goes to the mainstream media and gets talked about in those group chats, instead of positive action and what people can be doing to make a difference and to help make the Republican Party successful. It becomes a "what is Christina doing wrong" charade for day after day, week after week, month after month, and especially before each of the state committee meetings. This is what's been happening for a year. And then fast forward to December 2nd, we had a state committee meeting, and it was scheduled over in Redford at a church. The day before, there were pro-Palestinian a rally that was planned for outside the church to protest what the state party was doing. And I don't know who was behind that. I can't make any claims as to who was behind that. But then there was a pro-Israeli rally that was also scheduled for on the sidewalks right outside of the church as well as other types of threats and intimidations to the church, to where the church, who was supposed to host the state committee meeting at that church, said there's all kinds of confrontation going on by this point. Like, is this getting crazy? And they decided last minute, with less than 24 hours before the meeting, to cancel the December 2nd state committee meeting. They were not going to let the people meet there anymore. So, but the pro-Israeli rally, there was a Facebook page, the Detroit Republicans Facebook page, on December 1st, made a Facebook post promoting the pro-Israeli end of the sidewalk protest, when the pro-Palestinian one was also scheduled for that exact same location, which was creating all that tension and drama and spooking the church leadership. And so the Detroit Republicans made that post on their page. If anybody wants to guess when the last post was made, unless there were deleted posts, that Detroit Republicans Facebook page had not made a post since the year 2017. And then they come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're posting and hyping up this pro-Israeli rally on the sidewalks, when the pro-Palestinian one is already scheduled for that location as well, outside the state committee meeting, which ultimately led to the church canceling. And so that created all kinds of problems for the state party. Well, when the church made their public statement canceling, that was in the afternoon on December 1st, it was a comment on the Detroit Republicans' Facebook post. They put it in the comment section, and then it wasn't until an hour or two later that the church went and made their own post as well, saying that the meeting was canceled for the next day. So there's been these, and then they say, well, Christina wasn't transparent. We want to see more about the budget. We want to see more about the budget. We want this information. We want this information. Well, if we didn't go and push that pro-Israeli rally outside on the sidewalks, which was done, by the way, by people who were against Karamo. Christina Karamo and her supporters were not the ones pushing a pro-Israeli rally outside. That was Republicans who were opposed to Christina Karamo, who were pushing that pro-Israeli rally. And it's important to know these details. And so, again, another undermining of the state party. You go back to when Christina had the one up at Doherty, that was back to April 15th, but somebody got kicked between the legs, and there was an attack, a physical altercation, I guess, and it was, and then the headlines in the news are that the state party in disarray, made Christina Karamo look bad, but the person who went and kicked somebody else between the legs was somebody who is adamantly opposed to Christina Karamo, and then Christina gets that bad baggage in the court of public perception when it was somebody who was against Christina who did that. So these are just a few of the examples that led up to the more recent post December 2nd, but I think December 2nd, everything that happened prior to that, all the undermining of Christina Crummo that was done, led up to where we are more recently. There was a call for a meeting. You need 1/3 of the state committee. There's 107 state committee members. 1/3 can call for a special state committee meeting. Well, the threshold to remove the chair, to have a vote even come up, is you need 50%, according to the state party bylaws. You need 50% to sign a petition saying that you want that to be discussed. And there were 54 people who were on the state committee out of 107, which is just barely more than 50%. It's pretty weird because normally you need a majority, but it's actually written that you need 50%. 54 out of 107 would be a majority of people petitioning to bring forward a vote. But there is another part of the bylaws that says in order to have your rights and privileges, you have to be a dues-paying member by April 1st. When these people were signing these petitions back in, the vast majority of them were between October 1st and November and December of last year, were signing the petition. The 54 didn't even happen until January 6th at that meeting, which we'll get to. But of those 54, 4 of them, when they signed their petition, were not in compliance because they had not paid their dues. The bylaw says that all rights and privileges are automatically suspended if you are not in compliance with having paid the dues to the state party. So $25. If it's after April 1st, it's $50. The fact that 4 of those 54 were not in compliance with paying their dues when they signed that petition meant that they did not have the needed petitioners to bring forward the question on the removal of Christina. So on January 6th, yes, it was less than 54 people because not all 54 who signed that petition over the course of those few months showed up on January 6th to their meeting. There were 45 who voted. 40 at that meeting voted to remove Christina. 5 voted not to remove Christina. They created a quorum by using proxies, and that's a whole nother story. But so they had 40 to 5. That is greater than you need 75% at the state committee. After getting that 50% to petition, you need 75% to create that threshold. But that vote should never have counted because the 4 out of the 54 did not have their dues paid properly when they signed their petition. So that whole vote and the theory that they hit the 75%, and it's more complicated than that, but I'm not going to get into the weeds further, is null and void. January 13th, the meeting that Christina had called all along, people showed up and it was a 59-1 vote that we should not remove Christina. So the fact that 75% of state committee members are needed, 75% not of insert is of present would be the theory. Sure, I'm not denying that, but 75% is needed. 59 on her side, 40 not on her side. That's what we saw. That's nowhere near the 75%. That's not even a simple majority. Actually, it's not even really all that close to even a simple majority if you count the 59 versus the 40. So the January 6th vote to remove Christina is not proper, again, because 4 of the people who petitioned over the course of several months were not in compliance with their dues, which meant that they automatically lost, they were suspended from having their all rights and privileges, which would mean including signing a petition for the removal of the chair. So if people want to come on here and call me mean names, that's your right. Go for it. If you want to say that I'm doing it for political motives, go ahead and do that. But I would rather hear people say where I'm wrong and explain to me where I don't understand the bylaws correctly about these people paying their dues. Like, make the arguments. You know, you just coming on and calling me mean names, like, that's your choice if that's what you want to do. But yeah, I'm well aware that the 5th Congressional District here was very against Christina Cromwell in that vote. I don't need to be taking this stand. I'm just doing this because I believe this is what's right. And I believe the people of Michigan had an awesome opportunity to have the grassroots unite, work towards positive action to revive the Republican Party from within, to not squander this opportunity. And instead, we're going to have a farce meeting to get Pete Hoekstra in, who is an establishment operator. If you're a big fan of the Patriot Act, then you should like Pete Hoekstra. If you like perpetual war, then you should like Pete Hoekstra. If John Kasich was your guy, if you like people who in 2016, like John Kasich, said that he was not going to vote for Donald Trump, our Republican nominee, if you like that type of fracturing of the Republican Party, if you like establishment Republicans who are unwilling to vote for Donald Trump for President of the United States because he wasn't the one they wanted, if that's the type of person you want, like Pete Hoekstra wanted John Kasich, who fractured the Republican Party and pushed people towards voting for Democrats. Now, Pete Hoekstra, to his credit, did get on board, unlike John Kasich in the general election. I do want to be fair to that extent. But he did endorse John Kasich in the primary. And John Kasich, Mitt Romney, these types of Republicans who Rick Snyder, who actively work against our Republican, against Democrats, to me, that's inexcusable. And I'm not a fan of the Patriot Act. I'm not a fan of John Kasich. I would not have endorsed John Kasich in 2016. And we do not need the establishment back in control. We do not need grassroots pushing people towards establishment operators when we have the chance to get active, to mobilize the grassroots. Maybe the big donors aren't going to donate as much to the Michigan Republican Party under grassroots leadership, and that can be fine. We can raise money ourselves. What are you doing to get involved, to donate yourself, to go out, to knock doors, to activate your community, to mobilize your community? That's what we need to be focused on right now. And the big donors, whether they give to the state party or somewhere else, they're going to do their part still, even if it's to another organization, of donating money to help to get Republican victories in November. So I think we should encourage the establishment and this traditional old guard status quo to look at Republican Party principles and the fact that we've had enough of this shift of Democrats further to the left and Republicans also further to the left. We need to stand strong as grassroots, unite, quit the gossip, quit the drama, and focus on winning in 2024. Get conservative victories in primaries, Republican victories in November, and don't squander this opportunity.